We are now talking to University of Arizona head baseball coach Jay Johnson. What's going on, Jay?
Doing great. How you guys doing today?
We are very, very good. How are you and your family doing right now with this crazy stuff that's going on in this pandemic?
Yeah, thank you. We're all good and we're healthy. I think we'd all feel better about it if we were playing baseball or, being able to, watch some sports. The NBA playoffs, I think, would be going on or being full scale right now. So hopefully we can get back to normal at some point. But in the grand scheme of things, health-wise, we're doing great. So thank you for asking.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into some of the information about your team and the Arizona baseball. Tell us a little bit about the growth of Arizona baseball since you've taken over. They won in 2012, and really the growth of the game, especially college baseball. Tell us a little bit about your team and the growth of your school.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned Arizona had won the national championship in 2012 and then kind of had three down seasons, 13, 14, and 15. A lot of things contributed to that. And then after that, I was hired in June of 2015. And going into the 2016 season, we weren't thought very highly of. Picked to finish 10th out of 11 in the Pac-12 and really got off to a good start. Persevered through the middle of the schedule, got hot at the end of the year, made it to the College World Series and College World Series finals, came up short, won a bunch of games the next year and got to a regional and have had a good 4-year run here. And we're disappointed certainly with the pandemic ending the 2020 season early. Like a lot of coaches and teams, we felt good about our team and thought it was another Omaha caliber type group. But on the bright side, we had a couple players drafted to New York, actually, in the Major League draft, and we're excited about that and their success and where we're headed in the future.
Talk about in that 2016 season, when did you feel like this team could do something big and do something surprising? Was it later in the season, early in the season? Was it something that it took one hot streak? When did you start to feel this team could actually make noise in the Pac-12 and in the College World Series?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the fall was interesting in the sense of we were really trying to kind of find ourselves. Players get familiar with the coaches with the players, new program, new system, all of those types of things. And the fall wasn't very good, to be honest with you. If I told you I thought that was a Omaha caliber team, I would have been lying through my teeth. But then when we came back from Christmas break and we're preparing for the season, there was kind of a different feel, confidence, like, hey, maybe we're a little better than we thought. And we just focused on the play, improving on a daily basis. We had a really tough non-conference schedule and got some really good wins under our belt early, and then built some confidence, started playing really well at the end of the season. And then once we got to the postseason, and none of the players in the program at that point had played in the postseason, it was almost like we were playing with house money and played extremely aggressive, won a regional, won a super regional at Mississippi State and really played well all the way up until the very end of the College World Series finals and fell to a good Coastal Carolina team. But it's a good group and built a good foundation that we're being able to still build off of right now.
We are talking to University of Arizona baseball head coach Jay Johnson. Jay, I've asked a lot of coaches this. When you go in and you're recruiting players, you go into a person's house and you're talking to somebody's families, these families, you're talking to their brothers, their sisters, their aunts, their uncles, and they're all sitting there with the player. How do you sell Arizona, not only the school, the Wildcats, as a baseball team, but the school as a whole? How do you sell that to the player and their families?
Yeah, I really view the University of Arizona as a total package place, and we're very fortunate in that regard. If you're in an airport in the United States, whether it's out in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, if somebody walks through with a red shirt with a block A on it, that's the University of Arizona. And it has a great tradition of academics, very diverse school, very good in a lot of different fields. Where people have moved on and been successful, and certainly a national brand athletically. When you think about our basketball program, Coach Miller does a terrific job. Had good stints of success in football. Our softball program is one of the 2 or 3 best in the country, and baseball. We won 4 national championships, been to Omaha 17 times, and really have been a training ground for players to achieve their dream of playing professional baseball someday. And so it's really something that when you go into these recruiting meetings, it's almost it's exciting, because you can put some things in front of players and families that are really beneficial for their future, that they're going to benefit from being a part of our program and university, and be very transparent and true about it. And we've had good recruiting success, just bringing in another good class coming here in the fall, and that we're really excited about. And it's one of those universities that it's easy to work for in that regard.
A lot of other sports, you see Arizona schools, both your team and Arizona State, your big rival, stealing a lot of recruits also from California and Nevada, especially in football. Do you see that kind of thing going on with baseball, where you're seeing a lot of out-of-state recruits wanting to go to Arizona?
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you just mentioned two areas that are, our primary focus areas. The number of high quality baseball players in the state of California is remarkable, and we wouldn't be doing our jobs effectively if we weren't mining it for talent, if you will. Now, what I did when I got to Arizona, and actually I believe it was one of the reasons I got hired at Arizona, was when you looked at Arizona's best teams historically, there was a heavy presence from the state of California, and particularly Southern California. So we've tried to duplicate that, and it's been a good model for us to this point in time, and one we will continue to. You mentioned Las Vegas. I've had a lot of success, recruiting the Las Vegas area. I've recruited some major league players that have played for me at other stops in my coaching career. And, we're one of the bigger schools, around the Las Vegas metro area that is a destination place. So, and then in state, there's a lot of great players within the state of Arizona. So you kind of just hit our three happy hunting grounds, if you will. So,
Coach, we let the fans ask questions, and one of our fans loves to ask questions to some of the different people we've had on the show. Carl wanted me to ask you, your thoughts on pitchers having to use wet rags for the grip of the ball instead of licking their fingers. What are your thoughts to that?
Well, it probably depends on, is the pitcher on my team or the opponent's team? Hey man, in college baseball, when you have good pitching, that's your staple. You're going to have a good season if you have a good rotation, good guys at the back end of the game. And, I was a hitter, an undersized second baseman, and don't know all the tricks of the trade that pitchers use as far as, doctoring up the ball or this or that. But, we like guys that can throw strikes, low strikes, move the ball in and out, change speeds, and we kind of just focus on that. So I don't know if I have a comment for Carl there.
As you guys know, we are talking to University of Arizona head baseball coach Jay Johnson.
Talk about the Pac-12 as a whole, just as a conference. We know it all the time as the Conference of Parity. They call themselves the Conference of Champions, but we see a lot of crazy games within other sports, and definitely with baseball too. We've seen a lot of strong schools. Definitely, I would say among the Power 5 conferences, definitely in the top 3, and some years is number 1. Do you see that kind of thing in baseball, where you see these crazy games, road wins, stuff like that within your programs, both year to year and, again, recently?
Yeah, for sure. I think what you just said, too, is there is probably not a sport where home field advantage is as prevalent. And I think part of that has to do with the distance that we travel. I mean, we are for sure, on the southernmost end of the league. And at times we're, flying up to Seattle or Pullman, Washington, and, going to Salt Lake City, Utah, the Bay Area, Oregon State, that there's a lot of home field advantages, including ours at High Corbett Field. We've been tremendously successful at home. I think what separates the Pac-12 and baseball, and we were just kind of talking about the geography of where elite baseball players come from. There's so many in our region that everybody has enough to have a good team and beat you on any given day. And you mentioned the word parity. I think it really rings true in baseball. I think, Oregon State's been good, won the national championship in 18. We played for it in 16 and won it in 12. In 13, UCLA won it. And we always seem to, once our teams are in the postseason, perform extremely well. Stanford's had a couple good years in a row. So you don't look at the schedule and go, that's a win. I can tell you that. You have to play well. It's not always the team with the best players, but the team that plays the best that day. and it makes for great competition. And if you ask me what I missed the most about the pandemic, the first thing would be the opportunity to be at the players on a daily basis and help them develop. And then second is the competition, just because our league is so good in terms of the quality of coaches and players and the product that is Pac-12 baseball.
Well, Coach, I'm a Yankee fan, okay? And I grew up a Yankee fan, Don Mattingly fan, and I'm trying to scout different players, especially when you're looking at players that were drafted by the New York Yankees. And there's a particular player that the Yankees drafted in the first round who you coached, Austin Wells, who the Yankees over the years have drafted and found great catchers. Jorge Posada, now they have Gary Sanchez. Tell us a little bit about this kid and why this kid is going to be a star in the MLB.
Yeah, good choice by the Yankees. Austin is a terrific player, terrific talent. He's one of the best hitters I've ever coached. I would probably put him number 2 on that list next to Chris Bryant, third baseman for the Chicago Cubs. And Austin's special. I think he's going to really take advantage of that short right field porch in Yankee Stadium. He hits high-level pitching extremely well. He takes professional at-bats, has great strike zone discipline. So he's got that unique ability to have a great on-base percentage, hit for average because he's got such a quality swing, and drive the ball over the fence. And so I think when that time comes, Yankee fans will be extremely happy to have Austin in the pinstripes. And he's really developed as a catcher as well, really improved as a receiver, a blocker, a thrower. And I think it's exciting because if he continues his ascent as a catcher, then, that'll be his spot. But he's a good enough athlete to play first base, left field, and he's a good enough hitter to play any position on the field. So I think you and all the rest of the Bronx Bomber Nation will be extremely happy once Austin gets to the big league.
Well, if he's a better catcher than Gary Sanchez, we'll be very happy, even though I love Gary. I love him, and I think they're eventually going to move him to first base. But when I heard that the Yankees were going to bring in another catcher, I was researching this guy, and then I found out that we're talking to you, and you're his coach, and you're the one who scouted this kid before he went over there to Arizona. So I wanted to know your opinion. Also, the Yankees drafted Trevor Hauver. Is it Hauver or Hauver? Hauver. Tell us a little bit about the second baseman. They drafted at number 99 in the third round. Tell us a little bit about that kid.
Yeah, I think the best thing I can say about him is I'm happy we don't have to pitch to him anymore. He's a good hitter. Yeah. I think between him and Austin, that's as too good a left-handed college, professional type hitters as you could add to your organization in the top of one draft. I think Trevor probably got overshadowed a little bit because they had the number 1 pick overall in Spencer Torkelson and went to the Tigers. But great player, great hitter. And I think, like I said, that's 2 guys that Yankee fans should be really, really happy they have in their organization now.